Breaking news, the NBA trade deadline has officially come to the end, and the Atlanta Hawks, like a college student cramming for an exam tomorrow, made a last-minute move to secure some assets, quote-unquote, and make some trades for the future. Now, in this video, I'm going to break down the trades that they made at the last minute, but also what this means for the Atlanta Hawks going forward and what this means for their all-star currently on their team. Now, the trades per Shams. So this is it. This is what happened. There were 3 trades, 2 of them that were okay big, and then one that just related to kind of a salary dump. The big trade that came out was the DeAndre Hunter to Cleveland Cavaliers trade, and the Atlanta Hawks basically sent DeAndre Hunter to Cleveland for Karis LeVert, Georges Niang, and 3 second-round picks. Now, when I first saw this, and I'm gonna be completely honest, I was not ecstatic about this. This is a trade where it's like, I just don't get it. But when I'm reading over some tweets, a lot of people in there were saying that the Atlanta Hawks were actually ecstatic about this value that they got back for DeAndre Hunter. If they would have tried to trade DeAndre Hunter in September, they wouldn't have got the picks. So the fact that they got these 2 players and the picks is a win in their situation. I will say this as well. This just tells you the status of our front office, that they are complacent enough to accept this trade for DeAndre Hunter. Regardless of if you like it or not, the Atlanta Hawks were able to also dump DeAndre Hunter's salary. I think he had about 25% of the due salary coming up in the next few years. He was making a little bit over $25 million a year. So the Atlanta Hawks, you'll see this theme reoccurring, was able to get cheaper and get underneath the salary tax, the luxury tax, something that they've been trying to do since day one. Do I like this trade? I think it's, okay. That's all I can feel about that trade. Okay, that y'all wanted to do it? There you go. All right, next trade. And this one is probably the bigger trades of the whole day. And to be honest, I vibe with this trade. I don't hate it. I think it's a pretty decent trade. And that is the Los Angeles Clippers traded Terrence Mann, Bones Highland to the Atlanta Hawks for Bogdanovic and 3 second-round picks. So there goes our picks from the DeAndre Hunter trade right to Los Angeles. But more specifically, the Atlanta Hawks get back something that they actually needed on this team. They got a backup point guard in Bones Highland, and they also got a 3-and-D player who can add depth to the rotation. Terrence Mann is a really, really good player, a player that I didn't think Los Angeles was wanting to give up, but apparently they were. And I guess they value Bogdanovic that much. And so they made the trade. Positives about this trade: Bogey, $17 million due in the next few years. They get off of that. Like I said, I'm going to keep talking about how this team wants to get cheap. But also, they are able to replace and add some depth to this bench. And so for them to get 2 really good players for Bogey Bogdanovic, hey, sign me up. That's good. Now, the third trade, like I said, this one went under the radar a lot. I don't even know why Shams reported it, but I guess he had to. He essentially said the Atlanta Hawks are trading Cody Zeller and Houston's 2028 second-rounder to the Houston Rockets. This was purely a salary dump for the Atlanta Hawks. They wanted to get underneath the luxury tax. They were about $700K above the luxury tax. They trade Cody Zeller. They get under the luxury tax about and they're currently $1.3 million underneath the luxury tax. It makes sense. Cody Zeller, I don't even know what country he's in right now. We never had him on the squad. So, that makes sense. But we do lose a second-round pick for Cody Zeller. Now, going forward, what does this mean for the Atlanta Hawks? It means absolutely nothing. I feel like they kind of spread some things around. They essentially, quote-unquote, got younger. But it comes to the fact of the matter is this team got cheaper. And if that is what the Atlanta Hawks have been trying to do since day one, we've seen this. Tony Ressler, for whatever reason, is a cheap owner. And that's fine. If he deserves, I'm not going to say he deserves to be cheap, but he's a cheap owner and he's more focused on the bottom dollar. And I think that's being reflected in not only the moves, but the hires, but the direction that the Atlanta Hawks are going in. They're just good enough to put people in the seats, but if they're trying to win a championship, no way, Jose. We are not going to go above and beyond to win a championship because that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to stay underneath the luxury tax, and we're trying to build this team as cheap as possible. Now, with that scenario and with that mindset, this really only impacts one major player, and that's Trae Young. For the other younger guys, they don't really care because they're playing, they're young, they're, in their first contract, and the less people they surround them, the less good people they surround them with, the better those guys get because they're playing, they're working on their game, and so that doesn't matter for them. Trae Young is the biggest benefactor of this strategy. And I think today, at this trade deadline, the Atlanta Hawks made it abundantly clear. The Atlanta Hawks don't want to retain Trae Young. I mean, it's as simple as that. Trae Young has been with this team, I think, 7 years now. He's made it abundantly clear he wants to win. And the Atlanta Hawks have made it abundantly clear they're more focused on the bottom dollar. And if you have two individuals with opposing values, they tend to split up. And I think this is the case right now. Trae Young is an amazing player, and I hope that he is and does I hope he does what's best for him. Because right now, the Atlanta Hawks are not the team that's going to take and give him a championship. I'm just being completely honest. They have decided to put all the eggs in the future, and Trae Young is just sitting on the back end saying, what do I have to do to get a significant player on the team? And that is what makes the Atlanta Hawks right now so frustrating. If you're going to say we are rebuilding, let Trae Young make a move, get away from him, and that's understandable. But the fact is, you keeping Trae Young, and the message is so confusing right now because you keep Trae Young and you're holding him hostage, so to speak. So, going forward, I will say this. The Atlanta Hawks are nowhere near close to having a championship contending team right now. The more I watch, the more abundantly obvious it is. They care more about reducing salary, getting underneath the luxury tax, and kicking the can down the road. And I guess that's fine. I just will say this as well. Please do Trae Young right. It is a disservice for him to be on this team while they're rebuilding and doing whatever they're doing. So, at the end of the day, is it frustrating for the Atlanta Hawks? Did they make a move? Yes, they made a move. Is it the move a lot of people wanted them to make? No. Is it frustrating to a certain level? Yes, it is. Because this team is basically okay with being mediocre. And not only does our current roster say that, but the moves that they made today also say that. The Lakers got Luka. The Warriors got Jimmy Butler. You even go down the line. I mean, Sacramento got Zach LaVine. But the Atlanta Hawks ended up getting Terrence Mann, Georges Niang, Bones Highland, and a couple second rounders. Make that make sense. But at the end of the day, that's them. That's their prerogative. And it's not my money that they're spending. But if you enjoyed this video, please do me a favor. Hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and turn on post notifications. And if you want to see more videos like this, check this one out right here. And like always, peace.